Division 3 football, we had round one, a lot of teams that got a bye in week one, still some teams that had to earn their way into this second round, into the D3 playoff, an expanded playoff, still a lot of really good football. I don't think the product was very watered down this weekend, Seth, except for maybe a couple games.
No, man, this is the best time of the year. I mean, not only, do you get to have some Thanksgiving dinner this weekend or this week in general, but there's a lot of good football still being played. And I also love this time of the year because, there's some teams out there that, maybe I haven't paid attention to as much that got in the dance because they did what they need to do and win their conference championship. Like a team like LaGrange, like I hadn't really followed
Yeah.
them much, but now because we're into playoff football, I get to learn a little bit more about these teams, get to watch them up close and personal. So it's such a fun time of the year, man.
It definitely has had the chance to have Michael Still, one of the tight end from that LaGrange team, on the show tonight. We'll talk with him. I guess at this point in the episode, we've already talked with him, so we'll talk about that game here in a little bit. But let's kick things off with some teams that kind of up that same alley. Maybe we haven't talked about a whole lot. The Garnet Chargers from Union, they go down, they get beat by Muhlenberg, and the title from the recap from the Mules is Picks and Kicks. Help football to a playoff win. The picks, of course, the 2 interceptions from Leo Doberman, and then their sophomore kicker had a pair of field goals come from behind type of victory. 34-26, Muhlenberg, they're moving on.
Yeah, Dante Mahaffey. I mean, what an absolute weapon that kid is. He made a difference for sure in the air and on the ground, but also in special teams. He had 84 yards in the kickoff return game, and that's a lot. I mean, that's a couple of first downs stolen there, and that's an impact play. He actually returned the opening kickoff 34 yards, which, I mean, if you're a special teams numbers guy, you know that increases your chances, by 14% if you just let that thing go into the end zone. So look for him to continue to have, if they're going to have success, this Mules team, I think he's going to have to keep having one big day after the next. But
Have to.
what a tough task. Like, I know we're not going too far into next week, but Mount Union, obviously, it's a tough task. But we'll see, man. Like that's a good team now. So.
Yeah, they're hot, and I think something that's interesting when you look at this, Luke Spang, the quarterback from Muhlenberg, not one that has seen a lot of postseason action. His first start in a playoff-type game, atmosphere, and environment, able to come from behind and pick up a big win. 24 of 31 with 3 tuds and no giveaways through the air. I think that's good, generally speaking. But that's a big-time performance for a guy who maybe hasn't been under that type of pressure situation. Now, Muhlenberg, they've taken their lumps over the season. They've played in their fair share of big games, so that obviously helps a guy like him prepare for this moment. But to see a quarterback that steps up, maybe on the biggest stage, is something that's really important. Again, to your point, if you look ahead, and we'll talk maybe a little bit, preview some of the matchups moving forward, you got a Mount Union team coming up this weekend that is it's going to be a really tall task. I think that's probably the easiest way to say it.
No doubt. And he's going to see a defense that's just as good as anybody in the country.
Correct.
And, one of the things about really good quarterback play is, when the lights are brightest, we truly see who you are. And, we've seen what he's been able to do so far this year, but man, it's hard for me to say like it's going to be a walk in the park because it most certainly is not.
No, that'd be a disservice to
Probably,
QB and the boys over there for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Talked with Michael Stillwell earlier, but let's talk a little bit about this Panthers team. They're moving on. Late surge from Framingham State. They move on with a 24-21 win. The Rams, they scored late. They had the opportunity for an onside. And again, talk about a Panthers team that has not a lot of experience in these situations.
Right.
These are the teams that, I'm not going to say always, but usually these are the teams that crumble in a situation like that, and it takes one play to go the opposite bounce again. An onside kick, football is such an irregular shape. All it takes is one freaking oblong, oblong bounce, and this game could have a different result. Thankfully for the Panthers, they recover that onside kick, seal the deal, and Michael had said the emotions on that sideline were ridiculous.
I think, like you said, a team from maybe past years, you said they would crumble, but I think that goes to show like the culture that's maybe changing a little bit over the years. And I think that the teams that I've seen like go from maybe a little middle of the pack to start to kind of creep up in the conference and maybe even win a title, it's that culture. It's that big difference of belief. And, learning a little bit more about this team, their defense has continued the trend of playing really well against the run. They held the Rams to just 1.9 yards a carry on 22 carries, no less. And, when you can make an offense one-dimensional and make them throw it all over the yard, it's going to be a good day, especially, for a front seven as good as that. like you said, got a little scary there towards the end, but you know, let's go into this next one. Let's take maybe not a deep breath per se, but let's reload and lock and load for this next round, man.
And this is one of the streams that just wasn't working straight
Yeah.
up. That's a whole nother deal.
Tough deal.
In D3
Yeah,
football.
tough deal.
It sucks, to be honest with you, especially as someone who like just copped the ESPN Plus so I could watch D2.
I did
D3
too,
football.
man. Yeah, take my $11.99. I mean,
And just throw it into a pit.
Seriously, and it's. I mean, there's been a lot of commentary on this, but I think it just goes to show, like, let the schools take care of this thing, man. Like, even if I'll take a paywall, like, I honestly, like, legitimately, I'll take a paywall and support the local conferences, support the small schools. Don't give my money to ESPN Plus. Support the small schools, and we got to get this figured out. We got to get this figured out. We got to increase the bandwidth. We got to increase the whatever we got to do. We just figure it out for round 2.
That's the tough part, and I think the devil's advocate here, so to speak, is the fact that you assume and you believe, obviously, that so many people have ESPN Plus. So does this broaden the range? And that would be, as kind of a test case to go down the road a couple of years, I'd like to see, what is that viewership? How is that changing? Are there data that we can access from the media or public that says people who are existing ESPN Plus subscribers are maybe tuning in and finding different avenues to these games? I'd be very interested to see that. Obviously don't know because the kind of people we hear from are the ones that are so actively involved in the Division III football space. So,
and even if, like,
metric.
No doubt, and even if, like, I hope this shows, like, if it was like a viewership thing, they couldn't handle it potentially. I hope ESPN sees them and be like, man, what are all these people watching all these D3 games for? Like,
that would be, if that was the case, that'd be freaking fantastic.
We love it, right? Yeah. Keep it going. But yeah, it's tough. Get it figured out though.
Yeah, in reality, it's probably one little hardware, software, something. Yeah,
they'll probably get it figured out. I mean, it's just interesting that it was multiple games, like that basically all of them that had issues. But
yeah,
it's tough.
This Panthers team, not a lot of issues for them. First time making the second round of the playoffs. First time they've reached double-digit wins in a season. We're talking about a team that just a couple years ago, Seth, was, I believe, 0-9. Like, this program has had such a quick turnaround to the national playoff here. And that confidence, I think, showed on Saturday in the first quarter. You got a 4th and 5. You're in plus territory. You're doing all right in terms of field positioning right outside of the end zone, or the red zone, excuse me. But 4th and 5, you take a shot and you convert on that thing, and that sets the tone for the rest of the day for this
no question, man.
And they really got going, and some turnovers that they were able to generate on defense, on downs or otherwise. And again, took a late lead with about 3 minutes left, up by 10. Framingham scored with 23 seconds left, but the onside kick was unsuccessful. The Rams taken down by the Panthers, dude.
Yeah. No, I love it. No, it's awesome. I mean, you don't see that type of turnaround very often from going
anywhere in college football.
From any level, like over to like you're making your run now. Like, you're making your run. Like, this is exactly what you love to see. This is why I love November football.
It is
December. Like, this is what like, you see the big teams that continue to win, continue to have success. Shout out to those guys, but when you see a team like this Panther squad, like you're talking about, turn this thing around, have a lot of success, having Thanksgiving with the team for the first time.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love that.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
That is definitely a great reason to miss the family Thanksgiving. And Wheaton's in that same boat. They've seen a couple of those big guys that you talk about, and they took their lumps over the course of the season. They're showing people that this team is no fluke, obviously. And Crown, you come out of that conference, again, another incredible year for the Polars. Not really the strength of schedule that Wheaton has seen. That's not a stretch at all. And Wheaton really showed up in a big way. 76-14 over the Polars. And now you go back and you look at some of those games against a Mount Union that earlier in the season that was people kind of thought maybe it was a fluke. Maybe that's not a fluke. Like, obviously, there's still a gap between them and the Cardinals. There's still a gap between some of them and the top teams, but any given Saturday, man, Wheaton it definitely has you look at the rest of their schedule in a little bit of a different light when you go out and dominate a conference champion, no matter what the conference is.
I mean, if you really look at their entire schedule, they really, short those 2 losses, they've dominated pretty much every game they've played in for the most part. And, going back to Crown, like you said, I want to say congrats to them, first of all. I mean, what the quarterback did this year, running the ball like he did, regardless of strength of conference for sure. Like, they went to the playoffs for the first time and they made their run. Not necessarily like, of course you want to go and, win some more games, but I mean, it's their run, not anybody else's. But like I said this before, like I think Wheaton might just be one of the best 2-loss teams in the entire country. There's
Hmm.
certainly some WIAC teams that have something to say about that, and other teams around the country that would like a word about that. But gosh, they just continue to dominate. They continue to play really hard against the teams that they should beat. Like the teams they should beat, they're
Correct.
dominating. And there's a gap between basically everybody in North Central right now. If we're gonna say it how it
Yeah,
is, as
yeah.
far as you got to beat the champs at this point, if you're gonna say otherwise. But man, I Wartburg, man, like they got a good team coming to Waverly, and I mean Wartburg's a good team now, but I think Wheaton's a really good team as well.
Yeah, 3 interceptions for the Thunder in this one. 7 different guys toting the rock, 7 different guys catching it across the board. Obviously, a game like this, you get a lot of different people involved. But what that also means is a lot of your guys stay healthy and ready to go and get maybe a little bit, I don't want to say more rest because they still suited up and played. You know what I'm talking about? At least like a half of this game. But
Right.
there's not that scare, right, where you're losing a big time
No.
playmaker on one of the sides of the ball, hopefully is the case from Wheaton going into that game because, yeah, it doesn't. It definitely doesn't get any easier, and the offensive output is going to be the question mark against a Wartburg defense that has been the
Right.
stalwart as ever in D3 football.
Let's see it. I mean, we're going to see a Big Ten matchup. Is
Yeah.
essentially what we're gonna see Wisconsin versus Minnesota. We're gonna see, or Iowa versus Michigan State.
Okay.
Something like we're gonna see a 17-10 ball game, maybe even less than that. The Wartburg's not. They're gonna play that three high, cover three. They're gonna suffocate that run, and it's
Everything
gonna
in
be
front.
really hard to play against. So yeah, it's a really good front. So
It
excited
definitely
for
is.
that one, man. It should be fun.
I was going to say this might be a stretch for Big Ten football, but with the recent expansion, I think it makes a lot of sense, dude.
Seriously.
Chapman over Whitworth. This is about as Big Ten football as it gets. We're talking about a game day crew that was out at Oregon USC covering Big Ten football. This is pretty Big Ten-esque. 18-16, they take down Whitworth, and this came down literally to the final seconds. A 2-point conversion with no time left. Jacob Gowdy, he breaks it up for Chapman, and the Panthers, they roll into another big time win. These are two teams that are super familiar with each other. These matchups are dicey. These are literally, I think, a lot of times a coin flip because you have two teams
Right.
that are so familiar with one another. Chapman, they get it in this iteration and move on in the second round.
When you see like these West Coast teams playing, like they have to play a lot, right? Like that's why
Yeah.
you see these long trips, like Oshkosh going out to Linfield early in the year. Like it's tough, man. And this is definitely not the way that I really saw this game going. Like I thought the Whitworth win over Linfield carried a lot more weight than I guess maybe I should have let it. But with both of these teams, two very different defensive fronts. Chapman runs more of that 3-down Cali defense that maybe you're familiar with, if the old Pac-10
Sure.
or Pac-12 even, geez, like way back then. But Whitworth running more of that traditional 4-down front. I certainly had my eyes on this one because obviously whoever wins this one is coming to town to River Falls, and
Yes.
but yeah, this is not how I saw this game going. I thought Whitworth was going to be a lot better, but I guess I got to give the Panthers a lot more credit than I was giving them.
Yeah, and Chapman, they had a missed point after attempt on their first score, and that
Yeah.
almost came back to bite them in the ass because that would have been a deciding point in terms of a tie or outright type of situation. And this Whitworth team, 62 yards in the final minute 30. How about textbook sub 2 minute drill to go down the field in a game that did not see, I'm not going to say it didn't see a ton of offense because I actually don't really think that's the case when you look at some of the statistics, but it didn't see a lot of scoring. I think that's probably the difference there because these teams still had some things going. Chapman especially, I mean, 364 yards total offense is not a terrible day for them when you see how they stack up typically, but Whitworth team, 62 yards, final minute and a half. That's impressive. And then I kind of said it, Gowdy, his pass breakup, that's the final play. He had 11 tackles, a sack, and then an interception on the second play of the game. So he was at the start of the game and at the end and probably everywhere else in between, 11 tackles on the day. That's big time. Preseason All-American.
Yeah, I and it's hard for me not to look ahead on recapping this one because I just see 18 points on there for Chapman. I'm like, good freaking luck, man. Like the thing about playing, and I'll go into my River Falls rant for a minute and 30 seconds here,
Okay,
maybe
there you
even
go.
less actually.
The 2-minute drill.
Right, even less, right? The hard part about playing a team like River Falls, especially how fast they play, like that's the hard part. Is the WIAC teams, they know how to kind of prepare for this tempo. Like they're snapping that ball as fast as they possibly can. And when they get that film, like they don't see that. Like Chapman isn't seeing how fast they play. And so they're really going to have to get creative, I think, this week of practice. Okay, how are we going to prepare for this? They're going to get really basic with their calls. They might have 5 calls that they want to go to all day, like whether it's a trip set, whether it's a nub trips, or whether it's empty. Like they have to be really concrete with how they're getting to their defenses, because otherwise, man, like it's going to be a long day. Like they're going to be huffing and puffing, even though they're going to go from like I don't know how what the temperature was over there in Cali or wherever that game was played, but 20. It's going to be cold this weekend up north, and they're going to have to fly all the way up here, and it's going to be cold. So good freaking luck, man. That's all I'm saying.
It definitely will. That's in Spokane, Washington. That's where this game was played at Whitworth. But,
it probably was chilly.
Yeah, it says on here says weather. It just says fog. That's awesome.
Okay.
They don't want to let you know.
Maybe that plays into the points. Maybe they couldn't see. Like they couldn't see
it was
much.
so
I
thick
guess
that the Russian attack was all that they could get going because the quarterback couldn't see downfield.
Couldn't see the ball. Receivers
is,
couldn't see the ball. The quarterback couldn't see the center
one.
snapping it to him. Yeah.
This will be, from what I can understand, the first ever meeting between Chapman and River Falls, according to the respective websites here. And you look forward, and this is a Chapman team that averages a little less than 30 points per game. Obviously a little bit different than that River Falls side. They're a little bit more reliant on the ground game. I think that's something that we've seen from this Chapman squad, and they like to control that pace of play. Unfortunately, when you're playing Riv, that kind of gets taken out of your hands a lot.
For sure.
Is kind of the easiest way to say that. But again, only one way to find out. They have dominated time possession throughout this season, 34 minutes to 26 of the opponents. So that's obviously a big piece as you try and keep that offense off the field for River Falls. The problem is we're talking about a River Falls offense that can score in 2 plays, and we've seen it a lot of different times. So you got to limit the explosive plays and keep Blaha and company off the field. And, of course, you got to travel. That is another
That's the hardest part probably of this whole game, man. Yeah, I mean, you got to travel. You're going to play in really nice weather all week in practice, and then go play in 20 degrees of weather that your team probably hasn't seen all year, hasn't seen maybe ever. I bet there's not a lot of Wisconsin boys or Minnesota guys up there over there in Chapman.
Question.
So, yeah, good. I'm so excited for this matchup, but good freaking luck is all
100%. And this next one is one that I picked wrong in my preview for D3Football.com. Grove City. I thought they'd pull this out. I felt like this team has been on an upward trajectory the last couple of years. They were a Cinderella story, I think, in 2023. 2025, not the case. This is a team that has had some PAC championships, whether divided or outright or otherwise, and they've been on the up. So to me, I just figured that something there, coaches and company, like have got this thing, you get things rolling with a program like this, that they were going to come out and kind of defy the odds or defy the algorithm if you're Logan Hansen over there in Hanover. Right. But Hanover, they defend home field 23-15 over this Wolverine squad. That's a statement, historic win for the squad.
No question. This is absolutely a statement win for this Hanover team. First ever playoff win at home. I really love what Ian Rodebush has done this season so far. He's been really doing it all. 22nd in the country in total offense per game, 287.9 yards a game. They dominated time of possession in this one by almost 10 full minutes. And they've been able to really dominate on the run specifically, which is obviously what's accounting for that time of possession battle. But what a great win for Hanover. Like you said, I think you button this up perfectly. This is not how I saw this game going, but they dominated this entire game for the most part.
They really did, and I think the turning point for me in this one, this team's a Hanover team that's up 10-0 at half, and very attainable gap. Like that's nothing crazy for this Grove City attack. But in the third quarter, at the very end of the third quarter, this Wolverines defense has a chance to pull off a goal line stand. 3 plays in a row, they stuff Hanover. And on the fourth try, from my understanding, they get in on the 1-yard rush. That's a big play. It's an 18-play drive, 80 yards, almost 11 minutes time of possession for this Hanover team. March down the field and take literally as long as possible, 4 plays, just punch at the goal line. And the last opportunity, they get in, they make it 17-0 into the fourth quarter. And that's tough to come back from. Grove City, they did their best, they scored 15 points in the last quarter, a little bit a little bit too late, and that last score was, obviously less than 2 minutes left. It was nothing too crazy, but that to me was a big part of the game. Goal line stand or not, that determines the flow of that and the momentum heading into the final quarter.
You're essentially a 14-point swing on that whole deal.
Correct.
I mean, once you look at it, I mean, yeah, that's absolutely the football game right there.
Yeah.
Especially in a tight game, like obviously not a ton of points getting scored in this one. Like those possessions like that, they determine seasons at this point in the year.
Yeah, they do. And let's flip over. Cohawks, they roll over Concordia, Wisconsin. 44-7 win on the road, too, because of the couple losses that Co had. Concordia, the conference champ, with that auto bid, they get to host. And not really a shock factor here from Co.
No, not a surprise for me at all. I mean, good season for Concordia. Like, they played really well in their respective conference, a team that kind of had been dominated by, Aurora recently. And so shout out to them, obviously, for having a good year. But I said it on the show at the Secretary's Cup. I said Brady Kelly was going to be the offensive player of the year in the American Rivers Conference, and he is exactly that. He's been surgical. And here's what I'll say about Co. Like, I'm not going to speak to this specific game too much, but Co has lost to two of the top three teams in the entire country. And, a tight loss to River Falls earlier in the year, shootout, and then obviously Wartburg, both, I don't know if they are one-score games, but, under two-score games in both of those. But I think this is a tough draw for Bethel, personally. Like, it is. This is not going to be, we saw Bethel early in the year. We've covered them all year. But I think it's a tough draw for them. Like, Co is a lot better than maybe teams even think.
Correct.
Mainly because of those two really good losses, really quality losses. But, man, yeah, I'm excited for the Cohawks. We'll see what happens. But that lower left quadrant or that lower left side of the bracket, I mean, it is brutal. I mean, you have WIAC teams. You got the defending champs. You got the best team in the MIAC. You got maybe one of the best two-loss teams in the country. Like, that is a stacked side of this whole thing.
And those losses, they showed they can play in two very different styles.
Exactly.
Of game. 59-47 and 17-7. Like, those are the two games that they lost against two really quality opponents, but they show they can compete in both those. The offense can keep up with the standard in the country right now when it comes to offensive output, and they can also go toe-to-toe with the best in the ARC when it comes to defensive heavyweight type matchups. And in this one, Concordia, in a game like this, obvious underdog, have to go through and set the tone early. They were looking to do that, opening drive, get all the way down to the red zone, and you punch this one in. Maybe you set the tone. You swing first, and you landed a punch here on this Cohawks team that nobody expects you to go beat.
Right, yeah.
Intercepted pass. That thing goes the other way, and it's like, okay, dominoes start to fall. This thing starts to snowball in a very dramatic and quick fashion for this Concordia team.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Again, you summed it up pretty perfectly on that. I mean, good season. Continue to try to compete in that league, but again, it's like you got to play pretty perfect in a game like this with a really good team. Like, especially kind of the same story with the Wheaton game. You got to play perfect, and you throw a pick early, it's not going to go very well for the rest of the day.
The game of the week for me, one that I got to watch almost in its entirety. Susquehanna, they win, again, my game of the week. It's 38-32 over a Washington and Jefferson team that really surprised me in a great way on Saturday. This was a game that was honestly more back and forth than a lot that I've watched over the course of the season, in that every time it felt like someone could chip away and get ahead, the other team really just brought it back into it. And, of course, the big piece is to remind everyone, we'll talk about it, man, is that Susquehanna still has one of the best offensive backfields in the entire country.
Doubt.
Whether it's Ehrlich at quarterback or Lamons at running back. Well, these are guys that I think we haven't talked about maybe as much in the last couple of weeks. And Lamons had the injury to kind of start the year and maybe got off to a slower start than expected with the loss for the Susquehanna team. But this was so back and forth. It was ridiculous. Defense and special teams, 3 turnovers for this Riverhawk defense and 5 sacks, and you're still only winning by 6 points. That shows you how tight and how close this game was. Usually you have those numbers and those metrics, and we're talking about a 3 or 4 score win for the Riverhawks. Not the case on Saturday.
No, Kobe, I'm not sure if you turn this game on right away, and one of the more wild calls I've seen. I'm not sure if you have that one loaded in, but
I do.
I mean,
it's hard with video because of the ESPN deal. So
score bug, damn it.
Yeah.
Score bug got in the way with that whole thing. But one of the weirdest interceptions I've ever seen, because
That's
I'm watching
nuts.
this thing. I'm like, all right, scrambles out and, throws an incompletion, and then, okay, I guess it's an interception if you want to call it that. Looked clearly off the ground. Clearly, the way that oblong ball bounces off the ground, I'm like,
Officially speaking, it was off a foot.
I don't know if a ball
Per
comes
the
off a foot
recap.
like that. I mean, it bounced straight up.
I know.
I mean, so tough break, tough break. Again, one of those tight matchups. This is one of those tight matchups where stuff like that makes a difference. And when I'm not saying that's why, they lost the game or why Susquehanna won, but man, what a tough way to start. But this feels a little bit like a statement win for Susquehanna. We didn't really talk about him after the loss, early in the year. And I feel like a lot of people maybe counted this team out a little bit, but guess what? They get to go and they get to prove every single person wrong this weekend in that lower right hand side of the bracket. I know that's probably not the right way to say it, but like they get to prove everybody wrong. And well, I'll talk about him in a minute. But Rashawn Lamons, man, like let's see if he can keep this thing going. I think he's going to be able to. But yeah, statement win in my opinion.
I love that, dude. And this another crazy game in this one, and this is one I saw live, was kind of ridiculous. Susquehanna, they're driving down a big-time chunk play. Guys going towards the front left pylon, and he's got a Washington and Jefferson defender comes up behind him. Straight peanut punch this thing from behind. Ball trickles out on the 1-yard line. And everyone I thought everyone just kind of sat there and looked at each other for a second like, wait. Like, did he really just, because usually a guy, like, okay, he's getting into the end zone, like, ease up a little bit, like, lay off the burners. Like, no, dive, lay out, peanut punch this thing, ball pops out, touchdown, taken away, just like that. And it was, again, one of the biggest plays of the day. There were a lot of odd ones. There was another interception that the Riverhawks had that the ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, bounced around a little bit, grabbed that thing, take it the other way, and it was this felt like a game that you just have to study the shape of the football and figure out how this thing bounces.
Yeah,
there were a lot of ridiculous ones on either side. And again, really impressed with this Washington and Jefferson team because they overcame 3 turnovers, 5 sacks, and a lot of other things to keep this game very, very competitive. But obviously in the end, not necessarily enough. I mean, they score to make this a 1-score game with 4 minutes left. And so they obviously feeling very, very confident this is still very much within their reach. Susquehanna goes and just, again, we talked 2-minute drill earlier. They 4-minute did this, drill this thing out and grind clock, and they pick up the win 38-32.
Yeah, it's, everybody loves talking about those 2-minute drills and the last second touchdowns, but equally as impressive is when you have to milk that clock out and really impose your will a little bit because, you don't want to take those risks at the end of the game. And love what they did on that last little chunk of that game. Really impressive by Susquehanna, and I'm excited. I mean, this is one of those teams that, there's some teams that we've talked about so far that you're like, all right, good win, but right, this is a team that I think this is a team that I still think can go on that run and potentially win in a week. But obviously, no easy task. But this feels like one of the teams that could seriously go on a run here.
All about getting hot at the right time. And on the final play of the first half, Susquehanna down 17-14, come through, block the field goal, take it to a 70-yard return by Romero Lavalier, I believe is how that's pronounced, Lavalier. That gives Susquehanna the lead, and that they'd never give up the lead after that. So that is a huge swing. You're down by 3 points. Washington and Jefferson has a chance to go up by a touchdown, essentially. Instead, flip that thing. We take the lead. We never give it back. And Lamont said, it was just like a spark. That play right there, that changed everything. How do you win the 2 minutes going into halftime, the 2 minutes coming out of halftime? They do that, the momentum shift, it goes, and they continue to roll, man. That was another, again, this was that's just a microcosm of this entire game. There were ridiculous singular plays.
Just ridiculous plays all across the board.
That was fun. I'm glad that if there was a stream that worked, I'm glad it was that one.
Yeah.
Because that game was awesome. I like genuinely enjoyed watching that. I haven't really watched Washington and Jefferson a whole lot this year in terms of actual games. Yeah, I've seen highlights, but this is the first time I think I've gotten to sit down and just watch like a live stream straight up of these guys. So love that. Let's move over, talk a little bit more out east here. The Pride from Springfield, they step up defensively. Cortland, 21-7. the fewest points since November 24th of 2012 for this Red Dragon offense. That's astounding. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's hard to it's almost like difficult to look at and hard to watch because like you're looking at a team that, guess what, won the national title very recently. And obviously there's a coaching change. Obviously, some guys go some different places. It's a new team, but like, damn, like that shout out to Springfield, first of all. I mean, I wasn't really familiar with their game too much, I guess, but kudos to them for only throwing 3 passes and winning this football game. Because damn,
that's how they roll.
I mean,
let me tell you something. That's how the pride gets down. We had Arson Stefan on the show a little while back. I believe that was just last year. He was one of the guys. You talk about like a freaking cannonball with legs. Like that's exactly how this guy played and just start rolling. That's how this offense goes. And when you have guys like him, he has moved on now and graduated. But when you got guys like him that make this thing go, that's dangerous combo. And it's one of those things, exactly what's going to happen. Doesn't matter. You still can't stop it.
Inject that directly into my veins for the rest of the playoffs. Shout out to, I love some old school run the ball down your throat football. Like that is, I'm a big fan of that. TJ Welch carried the ball 19 times for 140 yards. Love that. Love that out of your quarterback for sure. So let's keep that going against Johns Hopkins. Let's just not let's not let them possess the ball at all in either half, essentially. Let's just run that clock down. Let's play good football. Obviously not a tall task by any means, but sheesh. I love that. Like, again, not one of the games that I watched on Saturday too closely, but wow. Again, 3 passes, wild to me.
2 playoff victories in a row over this Cortland team. And I'll go back to Arson just because he was on the show. I'm familiar with him and his game from a year ago. They beat Cortland last year at Cortland and went on to lose against North Central in the next round. But this this Arson cat, I know he's gone, but he just need to take a second. 6 foot, about 230. Like, just a freaking monster. He had, last year had 1,700 yards and 21 tuds. Like,
oh my God.
And 1 catch.
The 1 catch is lit. That's the one we
7
like.
yards against Cortland in that playoff game. But yeah, that's how this team rolls. They are one of the most physical in the East, one of the most physical, in this region. And they've got more guys. Of course, Arson comes to mind immediately, but they've got more guys this year on this roster that are fulfilling that role and obviously doing some things right.
Right. No, yeah, it's fun. Let's get those type of guys more touchdown catches or just more catches in general. I love the big man touchdowns. I think we're gonna hopefully see some more of that this weekend. Obviously he's gone, like you said, but give me big boy touchdowns all day long.
Yes, I like that.
1,700 yards, 20 touchdowns. It's crazy. That's
yes, it is.
Like that style of play. Love that.
In terms of big time difference makers for this week, I know you want to talk about Rashawn because that's a guy that we just haven't touched on enough, I think, in recent history. Maybe for good reason. We've just been keeping him a secret up until this point, or what?
Well, I think that's maybe how Susquehanna looks at it. We talked about him a lot going into the season, right? Preseason All-American, preseason All-American, All-American a year ago. Unbelievable player. Obviously didn't play much due to the injury, and so that's why I'm calling him my biggest riser because haven't talked about him enough, but it's like you turn on that Susquehanna game and 26 carries, 121 yards and a tud. And then to cap that off with, a couple, 3 receptions and another touchdown, do not let this guy get hot down the stretch. Just, especially I think this is a defense that can hang with teams. And like I said, do not let Lamons get hot. He is shifty. He is so hard to tackle. He's such a good player. And for not talking about him as much, I apologize, but damn, it's time to go now here.
Yeah. I love it, dude. I'll flip back to a guy that we talked about a little bit earlier, and Jacob Gaudy, man. This guy for Chapman who had a phenomenal game and 11 tackles, a TFL, which is that sack that we talked about, and then a 43-yard return on an interception to go with that 2-point conversion breakup for this Chapman team. A guy as a preseason All-American that has lived up, I think, to the expectations. I think is really safe to say for this Chapman team. He is a native of Honolulu, Hawaii, Seth.
Shout out.
Which I think that's something that maybe gets lost on some of these teams, your Washington, Oregon, Cali type programs, in that they do have a little bit of a pipeline and a recruiting trail for these guys because, of course, you have the Rainbow Warriors, right, Hawaii down there, but other than that, there's no D3 presence down there. There's no NAI Division II college football presence out on the islands that I'm aware of, and maybe we need to make that happen because it would be electric, but that's not the case. So this is an all-SCIAC first-team selection a year ago. Certainly would imagine that he's back in that here this year, but I'd have to go and double check that. But a guy that has been a difference maker for this Chapman team, I think every step along the way defensively this year for them, he's got 68 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions, couple pass breakups, even blocked a kick, 2 forced fumbles. He does it in every aspect of the game. Seems to be a leader for this defense. And he's only a junior. That's what's really exciting about this guy is that he had a breakout year his sophomore year, comes in, is right back up to the expectation level this junior year, leading this team on a kind of unprecedented type playoff run. And then he's still got another year ahead of him that I'm sure he'd be the first to tell you he's not thinking about right now. He's trying to make sure this team goes as far as possible. And how the hell do we stop Blaha and company from this River Falls team? But he's got a lot of really good things going on for this defense, second leading tackler on that squad. And again, we talk about this sometimes for a guy that's at the safety position. If you are the second leading tackler on your team, that can be a bad thing sometimes. That might not be always the best, but you talk about their system, what he's been able to do. He's obviously very involved in that downhill game, 5'11", 205. He's a physical box stuffer type of DB downhill.
Yeah, good luck.
Love it, dude. Sweet. Well, matchups. I'll pull up the graphic. Matchups for this weekend. We've got a lot of big ones, a lot of exciting ones. I will I'll pose this to you as I try and find the graphic. Give me one that you're, outside of River Falls, you're not allowed to pick that. Give me one you're most excited
for sure.
about when it comes to matchups.
Dude, that's so hard. Like, that's so hard.
Yeah,
it seriously is. Like, I'm pulling it up. Like, I'm looking at it myself right now. I'm just scrolling through it. And it's like,
yeah,
like, all right, Muhlenberg, Mount Union. Yeah, still big game. Randolph Macon, John Carroll, huge game. Trinity, Harlan Sims, huge game. So if you had to make me choose one,
I do. That's
gosh, again, so hard. Frick, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't know you were gonna ask this, and I'm glad you did though, because this is awesome. I think for me, that Whitewater DePaul game, I think, is potentially the biggest one. Whitewater obviously struggling at some points, and you might say, oh, DePaul, maybe not like, it's not the WIAC by any means, but like still really competitive league. Like those Ballantyne brothers, like they're going to go to work here.
Yep.
And I
Coming
think
off a big Monon Bell win too. They got a bye week. They're rolling.
Right. And I think if they can get ahead early, kind of like we've seen some teams do when they've beaten Whitewater, get ahead early, especially with those play actions and some of those deep shots that DePaul likes to take. I could see this being, an incredible game. And then honestly, like every single one of those games in the lower left-hand corner, like pretty much obviously other than maybe in the North Central Hanover one, but all of those games, massive football games.
Yeah, that Hope one for me is definitely interesting. We're talking about a Hope team at home that I believe is still an underdog in this type of situation against obviously a lacrosse team that has been very tested so far on the WAC. That's when I got my eye on Coach Stursma and company down there, the Flying Dutchman. I'm excited to tune into that one. But then the other one for me is this Susquehanna Christopher Newport type of game
for sure.
Here. This
Huge
is the CNU captain squad that, of course, brought down Salisbury and now has a chance. If things pan out, we could get that rematch potentially moving forward. Now, a lot of things would have to go in that fashion. But in the bottom right, that Christopher Newport team, how do they do against Susquehanna? And the Susquehanna's coming to their place is my understanding. So that's a big one, a big get for the captains. I got my eye on them for sure.
I don't disagree with you at all. Like this is actually maybe potentially the game of the week. Like this could definitely be the game of the week here. Like, I mean, you got the 1 seed, correct? Like that's the 1 seed, Christopher Newport, correct? In that corner, and then you got Susquehanna, who I think can go on a run, potentially game of the week. I won't officially make that the game of the week on my part, but dude, again, just so many good games across the board. I love this time of the year. I love playoff football. I love it more when River Falls is playing. But oh my gosh, I'm like getting chills just thinking about playoff football right now.
Christopher Newport and Susquehanna have played once in the history of their programs. That was in September of this year, captains beat them 41-27. They beat what was then the number 13 team in the country at home. Obviously, tough to repeat that success, but if there's anything to go off of, that is quite literally the only previous meeting between those two schools. And
potentially without Lamons in that one?
Film on each other.
Without Lamons in that one, potentially?
That is a very good point, because that would have been week 3 for the Susquehanna team.
I don't think he played until Johns Hopkins, I believe.
Yeah, let me double check the kind of the timing on that, because I think you might be right, and I can just look at the box score too, actually, now that I'm using my brain here.
While you look at that,
Lamons was in that game, 13 carries for 45 yards and 1 TD.
I mean, that was obviously the plan, right? I mean, it's going to be the plan again. Limit that dude. Do not let him beat you. Like, let somebody else beat you on that team, because he absolutely will. Correct.
Yeah, Connor Berry has been, the player of the year out of there. He's on our watch list. He's a guy that you absolutely need to be aware of. He's very efficient, under center, out of the pocket. The junior quarterback is lit it up so far this season for the Captains. So very excited, man. Big weekend of playoff football coming up, dude.
We love it.